All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. It will be here with the Blacksmith Podcast. Let's get it. Over here, we equip guys and turn them into men. We take guys from the world, turn them into men. Saturday is our financial discussions, and so we're gonna get it today. Um, some news that's going on with the Blacksmith Podcast is I'm gonna start a reaction not channel, but like playlist. I'm gonna start a reaction playlist. It may turn into a channel later on. I'm gonna see how it goes. We're gonna take some of the current news and react to it. And when I say we, I have a Discord chat of people that are closer to me. Um, they're faithful in the chat every week, and so I'm gonna probably take some stories and put them, mic them up, and maybe even put them on screen if they want to be. Split screen it and do a story, talk about it, see how it goes for the channel, see how the people like it. And the thinking behind it is this, this financial literacy information that I keep putting out every single week, it's good for everybody, right? If we're talking nutrition, it's a vital nutrient none of us can really live without, but you could live without it, but you won't live great, right? If you're vitamin A deficient, I believe it is, that's when you get cataract, right? And I think it's carrots that's vitamin A rich. If you are deficient in vitamin C, you can live, but that's how you get scurvy. Pirates got that, right? You could live without, getting a plethora of iron, but then you become anemic. You know what I mean? So um, I think financial literacy is one of those vital nutrients that we shouldn't live without, right? But the problem is a lot of the guys that I'm trying to reach are more focused on Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. They're focused on 100 men versus a gorilla. They're focused on Elon Musk versus Donald Trump. Now, that one I will say to a certain extent is important because of Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, and Tesla, right? And Trump coin, maybe even, right? If you're an investor in that. So think about why that one could be important, but a lot of the guys are watching Dragon Ball Z sparking videos and stuff like that. And those are the guys that we're trying to reach and pull over here and get them concerned with important things. So while the reaction playlist will be fun, it also has an ulterior motive, right? To pull these guys from this perpetual entertainment and get them focused on what's important. Now I'm gonna do the first subject I'm gonna deal with today is why invest in the stock market, right? I get that question a lot. Why invest in the stock market? You're so worried about investing in the stock market. Well, I'll tell you why I'm so worried about investing in the stock market, and that is because you are playing the stock market game whether you know it or not, whether somebody told you or not, whether somebody educated you or not, whether you, yeah, whether you are cognizant of it or not. And I'll tell you why. So I'll go ahead and show you something. I'll get ahead of myself a little bit. So this is Elf Beauty. What's the name of it? Elf Beauty. Yeah. You see this? Look at this earnings report right here, right? So this is what they estimated to hit. The number's not important. Just look, the grayed out circle is what they estimated. The full filled in circle is what they actually hit, right? So they beat their earnings basically. And let me tell you how this applies to you. If you bought products from Haley Bieber's Rhode, the Rhode has now been acquired by Elf Beauty. If you bought Elf Beauty products before, then you are in this number right here, this hard circle, this filled in circle. You're part of that number. Let's wake it up today. Let's see. New tab to the right. Give me this. I'm gonna keep Elf up because I'm gonna use that one. But watch this. Nike's a popular brand, right? Let's do the same thing with Nike. See, you have to understand you're playing this game regardless. Look at this. Quarter three, fiscal year 25. How are we already in quarter three? Is this, oh, it's fiscal year, so it starts October 1st. I was going off calendar year. Yeah. So anyway, so the fiscal year for the United States, or I think for the world, I don't know. It starts October 1st every year, right? So fiscal year quarter three. So what they said they were going to hit, what they actually hit, right? You're in this number right here. If you bought a pair of Jordans, if you bought a pair of Nike Shock Springs, whatever the shoes are nowadays, if you bought anything that Nike owns, is partnered with, or whatever, you're part of this because you're part of the revenue that they are reporting every single quarter. So for you to say, so you're a part of it regardless. And that's our problem, is that as the end consumer, we're always the end consumer of everything. Always the end consumer of everything. That's the problem. You're still in the game, but what's the saying? Crap rolls downhill. We're not going to say what it really is, but crap rolls downhill, right? You're the downhill. You're at the bottom. And that's a problem because if you're always the end consumer, you always get the short end of the stick. You always get the short straw. You always get slim pickings. You get what's left over. When the male lion has had his share of the caribou, of the African buffalo, the Cape buffalo, the zebra, when he's picked those Thompson's gazelles almost clean, well, now you get to come in and nibble on a rib or two, right? Maybe it still has something chewy left on it for you. And that's what happens. Now, you can survive like that, but you're not going to be the most fit and muscular of the bunch. You're going to be weak and skinny. You're going to look worse than Scar. Mufasa's the one who eats the most. Look how big he is. Look at Scar. He's a step down from him. He's like half his size. But he doesn't look necessarily malnourished. He just didn't get prime picking, so he's not as muscular and as strong and as built, right? And a step down from Scar, now you're malnourished, right? So just think about that. A little Disney for you. So we got to start investing, folks. We got to start getting in the actual game where we're winning. Stop being an end consumer of everything. Stop just being a part of somebody's revenue report. If you go to Starbucks but you don't invest in it, that's kind of wiggity whack, right? So let's look at Starbucks. There's some people who go to Starbucks 2 times a day, 3 times a day, or that many times a week. Some people go to Starbucks every single day, right? Starbucks stock is only $89.78. You mean to tell me you spend that much in a week going to their stars, getting a mocha kakalaka brafa with caramel, and it's a splash of coffee and a whole bunch of sugar. Is basically what it is. And if you would have bought it a year ago for $81, you would have earned 10% on your investment. You're telling me that you have the wherewithal to go and be a part of them missing their earnings right here, right? Missing their earnings, but still they have revenue. You're going to go and spend that much every single week, but you get nothing out of it. There's no return on investment for you. And this is why Earn Your Leisure, EYL, they have a term where I think it was one of their first sayings they came up with for their channel. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's one of their famous sayings, and they've trademarked it. Assets over liabilities. Buying a Starbucks drink is a liability. A liability is anything you put money, time, and effort into, and it benefits you nothing. Because what's the benefit to that coffee? It quenches my thirst. Water does the same thing. And you already pay for water out of your faucet. Oh, I never drink faucet water. Great. Get a Brita filter. Get a Brita filter on your sink. Get a fridge that gives water and has a filter on it. Because you already pay for the water, but what benefit are you getting out of it? Water quenches thirst. If you're thirsty, you need water, right? And so that's another thing. We do the wrong stuff. If you're thirsty, you need water, not orange juice, right? And so that's what we do. And so that's why you need to invest. You get a return on your investment. Had you bought 10 shares of this, a year ago, you would have been up $80, right? You'd have been up 10% on your investment. And that's invested money that's going to continuously grow. However, you would rather spend this every single week, which let's look at this, 89.78. Let's do some math. Wake it up. What is it? 89.78. Times 52 weeks. What are we doing? If you spent that every week, that's what you spend buying Starbucks drinks. Come on, man. Wake it up. This is why we need to invest right here. This is sad. This is atrocious. And then you tell people that when they talk about investing, I ain't got money for that. Yeah, you do, because that's what you spend in Starbucks a year, right? $4,600, almost $4,700. And this is why you're salivating when the end of January and the early February hits to get your tax refund, because you need relief. But realistically, if you're getting a huge tax refund, listen to what I'm about to say, everybody. We really have to wake it up in life. If you're getting a huge tax refund, 10, 12, 14 grand every year, your taxes and exemptions are set up wrong. You are giving the federal government a tax-free loan on your money, and they would never give you a tax-free loan on their money. Look at student loans. There's 17% interest attached to that crap. They don't give you interest-free loans. Why would you give them one? Set your exemptions up correctly and you'll get most of your money during the year. And you'll get a little refund, if that. Well, I don't want to end up owing money. Okay, so you owe them $20 because they gave you too much. You owe them $500. Man, I'd rather get $8,000 at the end of the year than to owe them $20. I don't want to owe. Well, you owe Starbucks $4,600. If you go there every week and spend $89.78, you're owing somebody something. You want those Jordans, you're owing them $100, $200. You want those jeans, you're spending $100, $200. You spend your 20s partying, you're gonna owe the rest of your life to the man, because you're gonna be working 9 to 5 till you die. The great, not yet late Warren Buffett, 94 years old, who's stepping down from he's stepping down from CEO. I don't know about chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. He said, and I quote, "If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die." And he's not wrong. A lot of people sign up to do just that every single day. Every single day. So he's still being reported as the CEO right here. Oh, yeah. By the way, this is Berkshire Hathaway. This is one share of Berkshire Hathaway. What you would have to pay for it. Yes. Yes. Let's look at it year to date. Up 8%. Let's look at it in the past year. Almost 20%. See this and look. If you, that means if you had one share of this, it cost you $620,000 over a year ago, and guess what? You would have earned $121,000, almost 122K. So this is why I keep saying wake it up, because it takes money to make money, but we actually have the money. We're just spending it on stupid stuff that doesn't matter. When you say you don't have time for all that investing stuff, yes, you do. You have time. You just spend it on stupid stuff. I love you. If you're wasting time every day playing gotcha games, right? Mindlessly scrolling on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. I mean, do some of that in a day. You need to decompress from your day. But before you turn on a timer for 30 minutes. Once that timer's up, get up, time to go. Do something else productive. Your day doesn't stop just because you got home from work. That's the problem. And if your day stops just because you got home from work and all of your work in your life stops, then guess what? You're going to work until you die, because you're going to keep trading time for money, folks. This is why this stuff is that important. All right. So I know I'm going on a tangent here because I'm passionate about this stuff, and I'm not going to apologize to anybody for being passionate about this stuff. This is what I do in real life. This is actually why this podcast exists, because I would tell my young mentees on the USS Tripoli over a year ago for 3 years while I was stationed there. I got there October 22nd, 2021, and came there as a chief petty officer in my dress blues, walking around, looking around. Never been attached to a ship's company before. Met a lot of people on there, a lot of good folks. And I had a lot of mentees, a lot of young dudes just lost in the world. Walking through the hangar bay, which you ain't supposed to do, like this. Walking on the flight deck like this. Walking through or standing in the doorways by the hangar bay, because if you close those watertight doors, if you're standing right on the other side of it, you may get a little reception, but if you walk inside the skin of the ship, it's covered by steel. You ain't getting no reception. And there's a reason for that. You don't need reception on the inside of the ship when you're out in the middle of the sea. Plus, if you got reception, it would give your ship's signal away, your position. If somebody's looking at their radars, the enemy, and they see that there's cell phone signal going to this one area, that means something's out there receiving signal. It means it's probably a boat or a ship. Let's go see what that is. Holy crap, it's a warship. Oh, we don't like those people. Pow, you start playing Battleship, right? Or we'll just send a missile to those targets. Now you start playing the game Battleship. Battleship, I don't know, maybe I'm aging myself here. I don't care. I've earned it. See the gray? I've earned it. I'll be 39 in 2 days. 2 days. Wake it up. All right. So Battleship, you sat on one side of the table. Somebody sat on the other side of the table. You have this little wall up with this grid in front of you. And it'd be like A1 is the top box on it, right? Then A2, then A3, or A2, A3, A4, and then you have B1, B2, B2. So, and then you would have your battleships in front of you. You'd have a playing board with little holes in it, and you put your battleships there in the beginning of the game, and they are guessing where they're shooting missiles. Okay, I want A1. So they're shooting at A1. So if you look on your playing board and you have your ship, a piece of your ship on A1, boom, that's a hit. And you got to tell them that. So they put a red peg up there on their board, so they know either your ship is facing vertically and the other part of your ship, and it could be a cruiser, a destroyer, if that's 2 grid pieces long, or 3 or 4 pieces long, or it could be horizontal. It could be A2 So if they say the next one, they say A2, miss. So they put a blue peg. Now they know your ship is vertical, right? And that happens in real life. So anyway, on the USS Tripoli, I was stationed there 3 years. I'm seeing all these young guys, and they're attached to their phones. Nobody's being productive in life, really. And I come there, and then they're like, Chief, what are you looking at? Oh, I'm looking at the stock market. Oh man, what does that look like? Come here, look at my phone. It looks like this. And I show them, oh, I wish it looked like that. It don't look like that yet. But I show them my phone, and this is what I'm looking at, right? And they're like, wow, you do this? And they're so wowed by something so simple. Knowing that, not even knowing that, I was like, do you want to do it? Oh, no, I can't do all of that. I ain't got time for all of that. I ain't got the money for all of that. Yeah, you do. Pull out your phone. Download Robinhood. Okay, go ahead. Do this. Set this up. 5 minutes later, boom, you got a stock portfolio. Here's your free stock. There you go. Now you're officially in the stock market. It was that simple? Yeah, it's that simple. Anyway, I think that's enough of a rant on that. Now let's get to our first subject. Now, I was kind of torn on what I wanted to do. First, we left off with Elf and boxabl last week. So I guess if I go in order, I would start with boxabl. Let's just do that. So boxabl, what is boxabl? Well, it's this. It's this. Can you see my screen? You can see it. All right, so boxabl is this, right? It is, what do they call it? I was going to say manufactured homes. And it kind of is, but this is what it looks like. It takes them a couple minutes. They bring this to any location you want it set up on. So you need to own land or be renting a parcel of land or something like that. And they come and set these up. Now, their most famous boxabl is the casita. Let's learn more. Now, here's the casita. So you see that? Look at what it looks like. Now, who the heck cares? Who the heck wants a folding home? Well, I'm going to be honest with you, folks. A lot of people probably want a folding home. Why would they want a folding home? Because these standalone homes are like 416 to 520. That's why they want a standalone home or a folding home. I'm sorry. So you got in here, you got a full-size bed, which travels with it. So this thing, when you buy it, this home, because it is a home, it's a house, but it's going to be a home to somebody, a whole lot of somebody's. Look at this. Look at the setup. This is the first product they made. It says it right there on the screen, but it's 361 square feet, so it's small. However, if you're a single person, or if you're just two people, you're a married couple, do you need more than this? Especially if you're not going to have children for the first 3 to 5 years. Do you need more house than this? You're going to pay for an apartment this small in New York City anyway. You're going to pay for an apartment this small or a little bigger than this in ATL. You're going to pay for an apartment this size or a little bigger in San Diego anyway. Let's use Seattle as well. And you know what? You're going to get less bang for your buck. You're going to pay more per month than you would for a mortgage on this. You know how much this thing costs? $60,000. So all you need is a parcel of land, right? So this will make you smarter quicker, right? If you can rent a parcel of land, which there's money in owning land, people, because remember how the market works. Things get more valuable as they become shorter in supply and demand. So if the supply is high and the demand is lower, it's less valuable. It's a dime a dozen. You'll see it everywhere, right? But if the supply is low and the demand is high, now it's way more valuable than it ever was, right? And land is going to start becoming way more valuable than it ever was because of things like this. But if you haven't been paying attention to our current society, look, I got bars, right? Investment bars. They're not rapping. They're not rhyming. I don't care about rap crap. I care about this. This is why I could rap to this all day, right? My oldest, middle daughter, she goes, Daddy, you can talk about investing in the stock market all day, but like that's she said something about, but you seem bored if people start talking about other stuff. And to kids, that makes you old, right? But you realize, and I had to tell her, baby, because that's that's important, right? Not to say, nah, she wasn't talking about school or something like that, but they were talking about something else that was kind of superfluous. I didn't care. But anyway, the casita. If you haven't been paying attention, there's a housing crisis out here. Look, watch this. Watch what I'm about to do. America housing crisis. You know, one of the reasons that I like Googling stuff on live is because, okay, sometimes I'm not set up prior to getting on because I'm coming from the gym and I'm running in here setting it up last minute. But most of the time I've been prepared beforehand. Like I was prepared beforehand. All these bars at the top, all these windows open, I had this open beforehand. Part of why I like Googling stuff is because I want to show you just how simple it is. And the information is right there at your fingertips. Okay? I've been prepared more times than I haven't been prepared for my show. But I will tell you this, the information is right here at your fingertips. All you have to do is Google it. And most of y'all aren't concerned with this kind of stuff, so you don't care. So, right, here we go. Shortage of affordable homes, soaring prices, limited availability. Part of now I looked this up for the past couple weeks. The average home now in America ranges from like 416 to like 520, right? Do you have, and I'm talking about K, $416,000 or $520,000. If you don't have that kind of money on hand, you don't have a VA loan where you can put no money down and get the home. There are closing costs, so let's not get crazy. But if your credit's not good enough to use FHA and put down 3.5%, so let's see. What is 3.5%? Let's do some math. My speaker turned off. Nobody's saying anything. Wesley, mic up. I'm just playing. All right, chat. Y'all know what's up. If you got anything to say, go ahead. Let me know. Well, I guess I didn't say that at the beginning of the show. But let's see. 035. So on a home that is $416,000 on the low end. If you're using FHA, you have to put down 3.5%. That's $14,560, right? Who's got that kind of money on hand? Most people don't, and I'm going to tell you why. Because most people are one or two financial burdens away from being broke. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. And most people are going to continue that trend because this kind of stuff bores them. They want to see what you think about who would win 100 men versus a gorilla. They want to know about Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. They want to know about the game-winning three or game-winning two-pointer jump shot that closed out the first series of the NBA Finals for the Pacers, right? They want to know who got drafted where in the NFL and what Saquon Barkley's knees are looking like, and how many rushing yards he's going to have this year. They're being perpetually entertained. They want to know. They want to see the next baddie on Instagram, and they're scrolling through their 10,000 video on the hub and stuff like that. They're perpetually entertained, so they don't care about this kind of stuff, but they could know about it if they were interested. So watch this. That's if you use an FHA, which you can use multiple times, by the way, right? So I might actually do a video review of like MG the Mortgage Guy when he talks about this stuff. But I actually know probably more than that. I know more than the average person on home buying. I've bought 2 homes in Southern California now. I'm living in the second one. I no longer own the first one, but I've used 2 VA loans before, but I know about conventional. So let's look at that. But if you use FHA, this isn't a home buying series, but I'm going to just throw this out here. There is PMI, like mortgage insurance. So you have to pay that on top until you pay off 20% of the loan. We'll get more into that later. Now let's take 416 and let's see what a conventional mortgage is like. Now, for a conventional mortgage, you got to put down 20%. So that's 83,000. Cash money. Who's got that? Exactly. So the average person is priced out of the market when you talk about standalone homes, condos, uh, townhomes, anything of the sort. When you talk about those, they're priced out of the market. So shortage of affordable homes, so they're not affordable anymore. Soaring prices, bidding wars during COVID shot the housing market up because there was a limited supply, but there was a heavy, heavy demand. So people, I want this house. I'll pay 10,000 over. I'll pay a 10,000 over what he's gonna pay. I'll pay 30,000 over. And so that's what shot up the home. So a part of the home's values right now are inflated because of the bidding war that ensued 4 years ago, 3 and 4 years ago. I would say 4 and 5 years ago, 4 and 5 years ago, and limited availability, right? All right, so now they're building, even where I live out here in Marietta. I'm on the border of Menifee. They're building a lot of homes out here. They're building homes in Hemet and this area, and a lot of people don't want to live here if they work in San Diego because they would have to commute an hour and 5, an hour and 10, an hour and 20 with no traffic. So coming home with traffic, it'd be a nightmare. You need to catch a flight and fly into French Valley over here. It'd be faster. I don't know how cheap it would be, but it wouldn't be a bad idea for them to make a commuter from a commuter plane that goes from French Valley to maybe Coronado Island, the military airport, or San Diego International. I don't know. Something like that. Might not be a bad idea. I might have to hook that up. The blacksmith, you heard it here first. Don't take my idea. If you're going to take my ideas and run with it, I want to look, this is all I'm asking for. 10% in the company. 10% of the perpetual earnings of the company. 3. Let's go 3. I'm not greedy. All right, so this is why boxabl is a good idea, right? This is why it's a good idea. You just need a parcel of land, and it ain't much, right? And look, you get a two-sided sink, you get a full size. I can't even keep up. They're showing it so fast, but it ain't much house to see, really, if you think about it. Now, let me get my thoughts right. Stove, built-in microwave, stand-up shower. That's a full-size bed. I remember in the video they had a guy who was 6'1" lay down in it, and he still had leg room. And actually, that was in the one smaller than the casita. They have the baby box that's only $20,000. It's like 261 square feet. So it's or 290 or something like that, right? So the casita, it's got, you can see it. It's got a washer or dryer right there. It's got both. A full-size refrigerator, all of that. This is everything you actually need, and it's all the house you actually need. It's just, in America, we like being comfortable. If you sold these in Haiti, if you sold these in DR, if you sold these in PR, if you sold these in the Philippines, if you sold these anywhere else in the world, people would be comfortable in their casitas, which I guarantee you their patents that they have are going to go international, which is why I became an early investor, because outside of America, people actually use all of their brain or more of their brain, and they're not thinking about being so comfortable and paying all this money that makes no sense. And they're getting just the amount of house that they need. Now, they have a one that's built for California that's 2 bedrooms, right? But this is really all the house a lot of people need. Now, I have 6 kids, so they ain't going to work for me. But a lot of y'all are young single dudes that this is all the house you actually need. And if you actually thought with your logical brain, $60,000 makes way more sense than $416,000. I'm just saying. So that's what boxabl is. So right here, the 2-bedroom casita, 2-bedroom layout. It's right here. Anyway, that's what this company is. And all you got to do is Google this, and it tells you that you can invest at 80 cents per share. But 100 men facing off with a gorilla is more important. It's more, you click that and to hear somebody's thoughts on that. And I get it. Listen, if you're doing videos on that and you're racking up views and you actually earn money from your podcast or your YouTube channel, more power to you. To the ones that are actually putting the content out there for folks to earn from, it's a great business model. But for the suckers that are so tapped into that, woe be unto you when you're 60. And remember, don't start complaining about society and interest rates and inflation and why you still have to work at 60 and blame it on the juice. It's got you feeling loose. No, you blame it on your actions, on your actions in your 20s. That's what you blame it on. Sorry, Jamie Foxx. All right, here's the boxabl call, right? The first one they ever did. And here's the Chief Financial Officer, Martin Costas.
December 2024 performance.
Can y'all hear this?
Since this is the very first call that I am doing, I would like to also speak about the history of the company and the Q1 2025 that we recently filed. The reason is that I think that it will help you to better understand our current performance. When we speak about boxabl, we typically have a hot topic, which is revenue. Most of our stakeholders, they are asking about the revenue, if it is a slowdown or if we are going to ramp up revenue. The reality of the company is that we have been around since...
I'm going to make it full screen only because, so you won't see me, only because he's got a thick accent from somewhere else, and he may be hard to understand, but you can read the subtitles. So if I need to say something, I may take it out of full screen, but that's why.
It's 2017, and we invest the first years of the company developing a product, which is today our Casita product. It's a studio house with 361 square feet, coming with a full kitchen, full bathroom, appliances on it, but which is really important, it falls for cost-effective shipping solution.
Let me tell you something. Look at my face. Hold on. We're going to continue. boxabl is not paying me. I wish they were. And in time, they probably will. I'm going to get me a Blacksmith Podcast edition casita with a forge in it. They're not paying me. I'm just telling you what makes sense. Robinhood does not pay me. I'm going to become an affiliate marketer one day. I push people towards Robinhood because for beginners, it's very easy. And even for experienced traders, they are bigging up their platform and increasing it and every single quarter to add on to it so that even experienced traders think it looks better than the other platforms out there and use it, right? They're not paying me. I'm just telling you what makes sense. You only need this much house. If this was available when I was 25, I would have bought one and I would have lived in it. And it would have been all the house I would have needed. And I wouldn't have been embarrassed to bring somebody to it.
In terms of revenue, the company saw the first big contract in 2021 for more than 150 units going to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, in a military-related contract.
All right, you hear that? Their first big contract. That is one of the things that y'all probably didn't know about that made me invest in boxabl. So I knew they had Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. That was a jail that we had there, and military members, Navy members could get orders to go be a correctional officer or a sentry there. So that it still exists, by the way. So if they are going to start contracting with the Department of Defense, like Palantir, good luck, goodbye. It's going to take off on every other company that's trying to be their competitors. And the only one that's going to be able to compete with them, maybe from what I see, is Tesla. But if they're not looking at government contracts, but if you see the news, everybody's focused on Elon Musk versus Trump. They're probably not likely to get government contracts right now. But this guy with the casita, probably will continue, especially if they worked great in Guantanamo Bay. Now, there's a lot of questions about the casita, and he may answer those. And I'll give some of the questions right now. Are they good in inclement weather? I'm talking about rain, sleet, snow. I just really mean rain, precipitation. When I'm talking about, well, I already gave the cat. The cat's already out of the bag. Inclement weather, rain, sleet, snow. Right? Obviously, no house stands up to super high winds and gets blown over and blown away. Got it. They don't need a foundation for these, so they're going to be less stable than another house and blown off faster if it comes to like strong hurricanes or whatever. But in heavy rains, how does it seal is it a 100% seal from rain? Is it rust proof? Stuff like that. Right? When you're folding and unfolding, do they go in there and clean it out? And does it need maintenance on the grooves and to be re-oiled and stuff like that so it can fold and unfold without a problem? Anyway.
This was a very important milestone to the company, not only because we were able to prove the concept of folding houses, put them in a truck, and from Florida in a ship to Cuba, but also because we were able to see a lot of feedback from the users of those houses that they were actually in a very aggressive environment in terms of weather. It's the Caribbean basin with a lot of humidity and also salty weather. With all that information, we spent the following years improving our product.
There it is. So they probably were not very good in inclement weather, tropical weathers. But you know what? The following years, because of the feedback, they tried it and they improved it because of it. So now so that was the military end user, right? That was sailors, Marines, whoever else got stationed there, right? And usually we don't have the best accommodations, but they do try. So they tried something. It worked, but wasn't the best product. So now they took it back and improved it. And now they're probably going to give it to them again. And they're probably going to say, you know what? Huge contract this time, right? So if they get a perpetual contract with the military to start building these things instead of barracks rooms or wherever it's more cost effective, like there's some duty stations, and this is YouTube, so I'm not going to say this to the world, but there's some duty stations where we live in like Connex boxes, right? If you don't know what those are, just Google them. And this might be a better solution to a Connex box. It might be more eco-friendly. It may trap more AC inside. It may, so it's more, insulated and whatnot from the weather. It may be more useful in hotter environments than colder environments. It may be more insulated, so it may trap more heat inside. All kinds of stuff, folks. So sky's the limit.
Making it better. But the product is important to understand is built to be sold in US under the modular housing codification or legislation.
Okay, that's what I was trying to think of. Not manufactured houses, but modular.
In US, typically the traditional construction is a stick frame. That construction is inspected and approved on site. Mm-hmm. And then modular housing is a different concept where inspection occurs in our factory.
Yeah.
In the States, you have 11 states that they still use the same format of traditional and they approve on site, even though if it is modular built on a factory. And there is the remaining of the states that they have some sort of modular housing legislation. They are different from one state to the next one, making the process very, very complex. It is very important to mention here that since the very beginning of the company, we got a lot of attention from different customers or potential customers. We have more than 180,000 people coming online in our website and dropping their name, showing interest in our product. Most of these people is coming from a state like California, Texas, Florida, New York. There is
Ooh! Look, those are four, what do you say? California, New York, Texas, Florida. Those are four big power states in the United States.
States that, yes, you can sell a house without the legislation approval because they approve on site. As I said, there are 11 states like those. But the reality, the demand is not coming from those, but from places like California. So the fact that this year we were approving California was very, very important. But let's talk about the numbers. So 2020.
Before he gets to the numbers, even though you can see it on the screen, let's talk about what he just said. He said they got approved to sell in California. What do you know about California? In terms of population, it's probably the most populated state in the United States. I bet you it's top 5, probably top 3, if not the top 1. It's a big landmass state, long-wise. It's not very wide, but it is very tall, right? It's wide enough. The state is big land-wise, right? It's not Texas by any stretch of the imagination, but California has a lot of people, and so they have a lot of delegates in the House of Representatives, right? And so, and it's one of the most expensive states in the union, if you didn't know that. So a lot of people, high cost of living, and great weather, I might add. And I'm a New Yorker saying that, so take that with a couple grains of salt. And then also, and then paychecks haven't kept up with cost of living. So what does that mean? Why would they go to get approved in California? Well, most of the demand was from California, which means there's a market in California, which means people's paychecks haven't kept up with the cost of living, which is why they need a solution other than these standalone homes that are $416,000 to $520,000. Boom.
For revenue was $3.4 million, which is a 10x from prior year.
Ooh, 10x.
Today, Q1 2025.
Let's go.
We have more than 200 houses under contract. That means houses that we're going to be selling in the future. We're going to be delivering and recognizing the revenue for those houses.
Let's go.
Here shortly. Another big topic that we have in the company is the cash position of the company. As of December 2024, we report that the net cash used in operation was $38.4 million, giving us a burning rate slightly ahead of $3 million. Also, in 2024, we reopened our Reg A, which was primarily on the second half of 2024, and we managed to raise $14.5 million, closing the year with a liquidity of $21.7 million between our cash account, bank accounts, and treasury notes. In 2025, we continue to raise through Q1, and we actually report in our 10Q that we raised an additional $13.7 million only in Q1. Now, let's talk about the proceeds of those investments and where we are actually investing in the company. Early on the stage of the company, as I said, we had a huge demand. We are in a...
All right, let me tell you something. We're not going to get to ELF today. We're already 47 minutes into the live, and part of it was me going in about why people should invest, right? And that's going to happen sometimes. Don't even worry about it. If I don't get to the whole earnings call, I may make a shorter video and post this online about it so we can watch the whole thing. ELF, I'm just going to save it for next week, or I'll do a video on that and get a different topic because I think I want to delve into credit next week, but we'll talk before we end.
In an industry that everybody understands is on crisis. Basically, I believe that right now we have about 5 million houses missing in US only, and that is without thinking globally. So under these circumstances, all the efforts that the company had at early stages of the company, they were primarily directed to 2 areas: R&D, to keep having a product that it is better quality, safer, is going to be available faster, and is actually cost-effective solution. Another big, I would say, stream that we have was investing on capacity. Right now we have 421,000 square feet in Las Vegas, with a production line that is able to produce 3,000 units per year, but also having a spare space to be adding more production as needed with new products. All
right, so basically what he just said was key. They have a factory in Las Vegas, and they produce about 3,000 units per year. So if you were wondering what production looks like, he just told you. And he said, don't worry, we'll be able to plus that number up because we have enough space that we have either bought, leased, or whatever, renting. They call it a lease when it's a company. Anyway, where we can build more of our factory so we can produce more homes per year. So let's look at this. 3,000 divided by 365 days. They produce about 8 homes a year. I mean, a day. 8.21 or 8.22 homes per day. And that's not bad because they're a small company. Now, in 2 years, in 5 years, that number might be 10x because the demand is only getting worse. The feds have not dropped the rates to affordable rates for people to buy homes. Home prices have still skyrocketed from 4 and 5 years ago, and they have not come down. People's paychecks have not kept up with inflation. Also, look at what they're doing. There's a lot of guys who drive in the US for work. And I'm talking about whether it's taxi, Ubers, Lyft, Uber Eats, the gig economy, but also CDLs for their driving big freight loads across country. And that's whether it's petroleum, right? Gasoline, products to Walmart, big pallets of stuff, houses, right? You see double wides and stuff on the back. You have big pipes on the back of trucks, construction materials. You have people who have construction worker license and they drive that kind of stuff for a living. There's a lot of jobs that where guys drive for a living, and some of those jobs, like the gig, with the taxi, the Ubers and the Lyfts, that stuff's being replaced by automatic cars, right? And so there, some of those paychecks are going away. They now got competition by automatic vehicles. What are you going to do? Crash into them all? Okay, I was just kidding because people were getting serious about going and setting Teslas on fire. You see what I'm saying? Like, if we don't focus on what's important, we get stupid and we get out there and start firebombing Teslas and stuff. What are you doing? What are you doing? Anyway, let's keep this going.
We are going to talk in a couple of minutes about what happened is after the approval in California, New Mexico, Nevada, we realized that the challenge, in addition to the production.
Hey, my man sound real smooth, don't he? California, New Mexico, Nevada. I'm like, oh shoot, boy, get it down.
Line was also coming from the permitting process, which is a very difficult process. On one hand, it's a barrier for competition, but on the other hand, the reality is we need to invest a lot of time and resources. So we actually built an in-house permitting department to handle the approval process better, as well as we're partnering with external engineering firms to streamline the process. Another big challenge that we realize is that a lot of our customers, that we call them in B2C, is people that they are willing to have a unit as an ADU or an additional house in an additional piece of land that they have. But these customers that they are, I will say, business to customer customers.
All right, stop it right there, because that's exactly what I'm talking about. People who also own homes and they have a half acre, a quarter acre, and the house is on it, and they got a front yard, a backyard. He just said they're using these homes as ADUs. I'm going to tell you right now, if they get a permit for these homes to be ADUs, you're going to see a lot of neighborhoods in California change. If they get approved zoning laws, this company is going to the moon because they're going to solve a big problem in America. And when they go international, big problem in the world. You're going to see boxabl all over the world. And they're going to have competition. But if they get in first and get their permits and all that kind of stuff and get the contracts first, they're going to win the race.
They go through a dealer. A dealer is a contractor which is licensed in one of the states that we are selling. And he came to our company, and we actually train them and approve them. So they are approved dealers. Initially, when we got the approvals, we quickly realized that our network was not very reliable. And again, all of this happened early in 2025. So we put a lot of effort in order to get more dealers. Right now, as we speak, we have more than 80 approved dealers in the states that we can sell, which is really, really important milestone. Another important milestone is a lot of the customers that they were willing to buy a house, they were needing a finance solution. They were needing financing. So they come.
I mean, that only makes sense. It's $60,000. So who's got that cash on hand?
Company partnered during 2024 and early 2025 with several partners. For example, Access Bank. So now we have more than 4 different partners that the customers, they can easily go and get a mortgage or a personal loan, but get a financing solution.
Pay attention. He just told you Access Bank. So now you know one of their partners, and now you know something about, that bank exists, and you know some of what they're doing.
Fairly quickly, and is helping them to move forward into the process. The last big challenge that we have into 2025, in addition to the dealer, the financing and regulatory, is talent. As the company is growing, we need to add talent and we need to bring the right people. I'm very proud to say that the company had a big investment done into compliance and reporting. So our finance team was upskilled with a very experienced controller. We now have a good manager for legal, to the point that in July 2024, we actually filed an 8K where we reported that we closed a number of inquiries that we were receiving from SEC, which was actually also another very good milestone for the company, because the SEC closed investigations without any impact to the company. In terms of talent also,
they defeated the SEC.
We want to streamline the B2C purchasing process for our customers. We really would like to see is that people is able to buy a house online with no surprises in terms of the cost and in a very easy process. So we recently added more talent in our web development department that will result in an improved user experience when the people is using our website. In sales, we have a big opportunity in very many different verticals that we can actually go to market with Casita. Which are the verticals? Can be your workforce accommodation.
All right, we're going to stop it right here, only because I don't want to go over an hour. I want to respect people's time. This is just a live show. I may do a complete video breakdown on this video on smaller videos and chop them up, put them on YouTube. Maybe if I can figure out a software that can cut them into shorts, I might dice it up like that as well. But you can see right here why you need to invest. And let me do one last thing to help this company out. So they're selling shares at 80 cents per, right? And so now let's say you bought 10,000 shares. Okay, that'd be $8,000 investment, right? But now let's say when they IPO at $40 per share, right? So if they're $40, you got to subtract 80 cents because that's where you started at, right? So your equity in each share would be 39.2. So $39.20. Now, if you multiply that times the 8,000 shares, no, you bought 10,000, right? The 10,000 shares that you bought, you just spent an initial investment of $8,000. You would have $392,000. Now, if you knew this was going to be the outcome, would you now go borrow from your mom, your dad, your aunt, your brother? Would you borrow part of your retirement? What would you do to get $8,000 to get this kind of return on investment? You do whatever it took. So this might actually be the future for that. It might hit $40 when it IPOs. It might be higher than that. But I'm going to tell you something. You're going to miss the boat if you're worried about 100 men versus a gorilla. And listen, folks, we are at our hour mark. The forge is going cold. Listen, I want you to make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Follow me on all the social media platforms, though there's not much content on the other ones other than YouTube. Have a great weekend. My birthday is on Monday. I'll be 39, last year in my 30s. Have a great weekend. I will see you next week.